I saw this visualization from the Financial Times. It was amazing, but it was static. To show the spread of the coronavirus in various different countries, the Financial Times had to create dozens of individual graphs to show each country. I wanted more. I wanted to nerd out with this data, so I created an interactive data-forward visualization of COVID-19. But let's start at the beginning. Whenever I start a data visualization, I always grab two libraries. I grab Bootstrap, a popular CSS library that lets you make simple websites just look beautiful, and D3.js, a JavaScript visualization library. With a bit of code, we're ready to get started creating a visualization. We're going to want to make this work on mobile, so we need to make sure that the visualization fits the screen size no matter what screen size it is. A little bit of coding, and of course, nothing works perfectly the first time. Okay, better. Awesome, and now I can resize the screen, and the visualization will adapt to fit whatever the screen size. This will work on mobile or a huge resolution desktop monitor. Now that we have a web page, we need to actually think about the visualization. A basic visualization is going to have a few different features: an x-axis, a y-axis, and some data labels. We'll need to leave some space around for labels, so we'll add a region for data and a region for the margin for the axis and labels. Let's do a bit of programming, and let's make our visualization have these two regions. And done. Awesome, this looks good. The purple region will be the margin region. We won't put any data in this region. And the white region will focus on just displaying the data there and have all of the labels and axes only in the purple region. I'm almost getting a little ahead of myself, and I always do. Let's make sure that this is going to work. Now, data. I started not being sure how I was going to get this data, but a bit of Google searching, and Johns Hopkins University has an amazing data source. The Johns Hopkins data provides the total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19, the total number of deaths from COVID-19, the number of COVID-19 recoveries, the total number of active cases of COVID-19, the number of hospitalizations related to COVID-19, and the location where that data is from. Unfortunately, the data comes in as one file per day, but we'll need it as a single file to make a single visualization. I put together a little bit of Python code, and awesome. Now we have a single file with all the relevant data for our visualization. So now that we have our data, let's look at how we're actually going to visualize it. Looking back at our graph, we know along the x-axis, we're going to have the total number of days since the 100th case, just like the visualization we saw from the Financial Times. The y-axis will be the number of cases, and each data point will be aligned by the country that the data comes from. And we'll use a different color for each country. So United States, Canada, and every other country will be a different color. To create a data visualization with this, we'll have each data point represented as simply a circle. And with a little bit of programming and some coding, we have a data visualization that's definitely not working. Some debugging and a little bit more debugging, and we have a simple data visualization. But the goal was to make an interactive data-forward visualization. I want to be able to nerd out with this data. So I added a mouse over to dive into each data point. Initially, we'll just look at the data in the console, and we'll work on the UI later. With the data rendered, it's time to spend a little bit of time working on the X and Y axes. This is beginning to look more and more like a data visualization, but it's really messy. Let's go ahead and introduce the concept of a highlighted country. To do this, we'll make this country bold so it stands out from the background. We'll start by just highlighting the United States, but then we'll let users choose which country to highlight later. This is looking good, but I feel like it doesn't have that highlight effect that I really want. To make the highlight really pop, we'll go ahead and dim all of the non-highlighted countries so it's very clear which country is highlighted. Oh, I really like this effect. I spent the next several days iterating on this design, focusing primarily on how I can nerd out with the data and allowing me to answer questions about this data. I'm really happy with how it ended up. Let's jump forward and take a look. And here's where we ended up. You can see the base design, the circles drawn on the grid. All of the countries are faded except for the highlighted country. And what I've worked on is adding over 1 trillion different combinations of options for you to explore the data. One feature that was shared more than almost any other feature is the ability to create animations and save those animations. By adding an additional highlight, I can compare 2 countries, such as the United States and the European Union, as I'm doing here. And in doing so, I can then click Animate to view this visualization. All I'm doing here is taking 1 frame at a time by looking at each day at a time and rendering only up to that day. By adding a small pause in between each frame, the animation tells a really, really compelling story when you're comparing multiple countries. I ended up naming this website 91DIVOC. It's COVID-19 backwards, so COVID-19 is 91-DIVOC. You can check out the website at 91-divoc.com. If you enjoy data-forward visualizations, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. You can also leave a comment down below, and I'll answer it as soon as I can. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Otherwise, I hope you keep nerding out.